Web 1320 Uncensored. Dar Hawthorne, Mark Dawson, myself, Steve LaBarber in the house. Anybody out there want to talk drag racing? This is your place to do it. Uncensored. Who gives a fuck? Say it all. Say what's on your mind.
What's up, Steve-O? How you doing, buddy?
Any better would be illegal. Wish we were racing here in SoCal, but we got to settle for Bakersfield.
Well, we do have Verona, man. Come on.
Verona, is that even a drag strip?
It is an official 8th mile drag strip as well as Irwindale.
Heard it's got great shutdown.
They all
like Irwindale.
count. They all count.
No. Quarter-mile racing is where my heart is.
You're awfully green about that.
You should really
I am awfully green. This is what we call the green room. This is the green room effect. If you guys can see what's going on under the table right now.
Letterman's got a green room. Leno, everybody's got a green room. Right.
And I got a casting couch, too. So all you ladies out there want to be live on the Internet. Casting couch to my immediate right.
So, Dar, tell us about what happened this fucking weekend.
This fucking weekend was pretty amazing. I had a great time. Worked my ass off. The Rockabilly Rod reunion at Las Vegas Motor Speedway at the drag strip at Las Vegas was pretty damn amazing. 23 funny cars, some new records. Just sort of the unpredictability of 23 cars trying to get into an 8-car field was, sort of a classic funny car show that you just don't see anymore.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. And the racers really stepped up and made a great show out of it. They were doing side-by-side all the way down every run. It was awesome.
I mean, I'm not supposed to be a cheerleader, but there were a couple of times where I raised my fist because it was like, how in the hell did he pull off that number and beat that guy? I mean, it was like when Will Martin beat Paul Romine in the first round. It was like, what the fuck? That's great. I mean, they were really stepping it up, and it was really an amazing show.
Yeah. Oh, we lost Steve already.
We lost Steve. All right. Well, what the hell?
Keep going. But
yeah, it was one of those, sort of magical moments that you look back and go, wow, you didn't go to that show, you really missed a hell of a show. And it's one of the things that I think that all of us got to really pay attention to is how do we bring attention to that kind of show and bring more people in. I mean, I'll drive the bus down to Nellis Air Force Base if it means that we can bring more people in.
Right.
I really think that it needs to be military free. And and strippers getting free, and I will drive the bus.
Strippers will get in free.
I didn't know that, and I wish I'd known that on Friday night.
Yeah, they even had a pinup girl contest and a bikini contest.
And we ran and I actually took a picture of it. It really, I stopped by and got in right in the middle of it, and Nathan did a great job of emceeing it. With the material he was given, he handled it quite well.
We were able to cut in right there to, finish all the semis right before that. So it worked out perfectly time-wise. I'd like to say that I did that on purpose, but I didn't do shit on purpose.
Your planning is absolutely amazing, Mark.
Am I back?
Mr. Greenroom has returned.
Woo, this is me, holla. Okay, so where were we talking? We were talking budget and the multi-stack Mustang.
Yeah, we're talking about what happened this weekend at the Rockabilly Rod Reunion Drag Racing Online AAFC Challenge this weekend. It was pretty.
I heard it was awesome.
It was. And it was. I mean, I hate that phrase, but it was kind of like the old days. where
Right.
you just got so much side-by-side stuff that it's, how could you not like it?
And I know.
Well, there's something. Go ahead, Mark.
I know it was controversial for LVMS to decide to do the 2 oil down rule, but I think everybody backed it down just enough to be able to go down the track smoothly and make a good show.
All right, now I got to ask you, since you brought it up,
Okay, go for it.
did anybody actually check and see if Dan Horan dropped oil or if that was a fuel drop on his last qualifying pass?
That was definitely an oil because we checked the car. I called down immediately to fire and safety to check the car,
Yeah.
and they saw both sides of the headers oil coming out of the
What is all the extra noise we're hearing?
That's okay. Steve's just got to mute when he's not talking.
How do I do that?
Oh, is that it? Okay, it's everything coming back on us. Okay. I thought he was having a party there.
He is having a party there.
It's my
muted.
dad and this loud fucking house of mine.
Tell him to shut the fuck up.
Hey, I'm on the internet, huh? Shut up!
That worked. All right. Well, Ronnie Swearingen would have a firm disagreement with you, but I was standing down there on the on the side of the on the other side of the K rail, and it looked like a traditional fuel spill as the car's launching.
Yeah.
And so the tractor was rolled. And I just wonder if it couldn't have been cleaned up with a mop, and the guys could have had, another. I mean,
Well, they tried to do it with the
run.
mop first, and they weren't able to get it to come up. So, bringing out the equipment was what they had to do, and that's how they made it. You have to trust. I have to trust my guys, and I.
Yeah, right.
I know the guy who was working there did a great job throughout the years for me, so I trust him as far as knowing what he's seeing. So it's just a matter of.
Well, Mark's worked on the management end of a drag strip, so you got to kind of trust your employees.
Well, I've been on both sides of it though.
Right. But I mean, of fuel, nitromethane, it's just like alcohol, mop it up and go.
Right.
But I've also been on the other side where you're throwing grenades over the fence trying to knock NHRA off the wall, and
Right.
And so I'm being the devil's advocate for Ronnie Swearingen, who said, come on over and take a look at my car because I didn't drop a drop of oil. So I did not personally see it, and I don't know that anybody at the top end saw oil on the headers or anything like that. But I saw what the stream was off the starting line, and it looked like fuel to me. So I did not put my finger in and taste it.
Yep. Well, I trust.
I
the
will
guys
next
up
time,
there.
damn it.
Yeah, and you should. You know what?
The only person I
don't
know
mind
that did
people
that was
checking.
Gary Kennedy.
And I don't mind people checking us.
All right.
But I'm telling you right now, 99.9% of the time, they're right. There goes LaBarbera again. But I have full confidence in his ability to decipher whether it was oil or not. And the fact that I called down to the other end and I asked them to look at the vehicle before it went anywhere, and they confirmed that there was oil coming off of it, I have to go with what he said.
Okay. I take that, yeah, okay, fine. Case closed. But I'm going to get Ronnie Swearingen on next week.
Yeah, Ronnie Swearingen on next week. Plead your case, and then also get a Blair.
And trust me, I got depressed every time I'm like, oh my God, these guys just ran an awesome time.
Yep.
Now, when they say 2 oil down, is that a fine?
No,
if they got to run 3?
DQ'd,
Pack your
you're out.
shit and go.
DQ'd and go. Well, there were so many people trying to get in an 8-car field. I understand it.
Only 2 cars were DQ'd out of 23. That's not bad.
Not
No,
bad.
That's what I'm saying. Those guys stepped up and did a great job.
Who ended up winning, by the way?
John Hale
John Hale.
with a 573 in the final
Wow.
against Jason Rupert with a 584.
Wow. Rupert, that's the, is that the peddler?
No, John Hale's got the
No,
Mike
Rupert.
Burkhardt Camaro, and Jason Rupert's in the Mert Littlefield Camaro.
Oh, the Littlefield. Yeah. My bad. Yep. Oh, speaking of nostalgia and all that, Bakersfield always comes to mind because to me that's the best place to have a nostalgia race. That's like my favorite place on earth for a nostalgia race. I did speak with Blake today, and since I got you on the little telltale here, Mark Dawson, that he wants us up for the NMCA.
Okay.
Are you going to go to that, Dart?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think an MCA is one of those little treasures that we're all going to experience this year. That I have to disagree with them giving a Wally out for virtually everything. But,
Right.
When they gave out the Wally for the media autocross at Auto Club Dragway, that's where I drew the line. I'm sorry. There's Wally is turning over in his grave. We talked about that last week, but
Yep.
I think that the Wally still needs to be a pretty coveted thing.
But they've given Wallies out for people who've taken cones out before, except the cones that we use are square and the cones that they use are not.
Yeah, but I don't want to see a Wally given out for best buffet either.
Well,
no.
And Dar, I think you'll actually see them back off a little bit the next few years because
it needs to be special.
It was my impression of what they wanted to do.
The other thing, I got a real bone to pick with what's going on at Pomona. I don't know if they're running the same rules or even if they had a bracket category in Bakers or in Fontana last year. But it seems to me that they're all index.
That's of right now. They haven't decided yet what they're going to do.
Okay, because 90% of them. That's such a huge moneymaker for any track as a good bracket race and. All the people that lost Pomona back in the day are calling me saying, hey, is there going to be a bracket class? I'm like, I can't remember if there was one last year at Fontana.
I don't know if you would say it's the big money maker. The big money makers are the index classes.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's good filler for the index class. It's great filler, and everybody wants that aura of the or whatever, the appeal of racing at the legendary Pomona Fairgrounds.
Well, I think what people need to do is get on the forums of NMCA and voice their opinion that they would like a bracket race.
I agree.
It's not that they, I wouldn't go in there and say you better have a bracket race. I would just say,
hey, they better have 8 to 10 funny cars in there.
Well, they're going to have a forum then, Dar.
They are going to run.
Believe me. If they open up an open funny car, I would guarantee you 25 cars. No sweat.
I know. But the problem with Pomona is not how many cars you have. There's too many cars wanting to go to Pomona. It's Pomona.
It's the holy grail. It's like the California version of Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of us that were very surprised that all of a sudden an MCA got the keys to the building down there because, nobody's been on that. But Good Guys, I think in 2007 was the last time, or 8 maybe?
I think Super Chevy was the last, or...
about the same time.
Or Sport Compact. One of those.
Oh, right.
I think it was Sport Compact in 06 or 07.
And I actually worked on the computer at that event.
So, are they, off camera, we'll talk about that stuff. So anyways...
getting back to the other thing that we just talked about is giving out the Wally for the best buffet, and it is like they've really got to narrow down the criterion of who gets a Wally. Anybody could go buy a full size Wally on eBay right now, but to win one has got to be something really special, and to give one as a media award just sucks.
Well, that's something I've never even looked at. How do you buy a Wally?
Type Wally into eBay, and you'll find probably a dozen of them that are sold by various people who were given them as a sponsor. Or Bob Glidden sold a number of his on eBay.
Wow.
Well,
that shows you how much they mean too.
But here's the thing too, Dar. When the people started asking for more Wallies, it's because the economy went to shit, and we're all trying to look for something to come back on.
Yeah.
And we're still looking for that. Working at Fontana, I've been lucky because it's still a center place for where there's tons of cars to pull from, even when the economy is bad. But when you look at places that you have to travel to, Las Vegas, even
No,
though
it doesn't.
beautiful track, and
You sure?
and Bakersfield.
Call.
Hold on, Steve. And Bakersfield, they're struggling to get cars to come up there because it costs everybody so much to get there.
Yeah.
And so one way to get them there is to say it's a Wally race. And it's the same thing at every track I've been to. It's just trying to find what people want.
Well, I guess I have less problem with it actually being involved with something on the drag strip, but something adjacent to the drag strip. That's over the line as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not bitter because I didn't win one, but I didn't know anything about the autocross until they started handing out the Wally. It was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This has nothing to do with drag racing.
Hey, guys, I got to cut out.
Okay, homie.
All right. Thanks for the discussion. We'll pick this back up when I return.
All right.
Okay, we'll finish up.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
See you, Steve-O.
It's bad Chinese food.
It is. It's bad juju.
So I just think that we've all got to be really respectful of what that award really means, and that was my pet peeve when I saw that last year. Was like, you're giving it for what?
Right.
So as long as they're more judicious in handing a Wally out, I think that seemed kind of I guess I'm more reverent about it than more traditional about it than some of the organizations that can now hand them out.
Yeah. Well, just and then just on the other side of that coin, the tracks are just trying to do what they can, and it's a tough situation right now for everybody. Even though it seems to be, I don't know, bottoming out.
Hard to tell. I mean, we all go to specialty races, and some of the races that go on at LVMS or Bakersfield or in a couple of weeks up at Sacramento. Those are sort of special cases. We look at the March meet where thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are coming in to watch an event there in a track that holds 15,000 people maybe, 18,000 people. And that place was packed. And I hope that Sacramento's Funny Car Fever that's coming up, and then their dragster event that comes after that, it works out well. Famoso's got their Saturday Night Nitro show coming up on June 9th, and it looks like there's going to be 15, 16 funny cars there for an 8-car Chicago-style field. Wow. So I firmly hope that in some ways we can reinvent drag racing for a new generation of people that can appreciate a night of entertainment on a drag strip with a lot of noise, the smell of nitro, and fast door cars.
Well, speaking of that, I'll kind of give you my thoughts on why it's kind of gone away on that part too. My thoughts are, back in the 50s and 60s, people worked on their cars because they could work on their cars. And then all of a sudden, we started making all these cars so hard to work on, so only the manufacturers can work on them, but that leaves no room for people who have enthusiasm to work on their cars. I kind of wish the car companies would come up with a way, I don't know, sort of like a Lego block deal where if you want to add a turbo, there's a spot for it, and connections that you could just, simple connections.
Well, unfortunately, we have the EPA stepping in the middle of that, and the government dictates so many parts of our lives that that certainly have an effect on drag racing on a number of levels.
More so here in California, though.
Yeah, right.
But, I mean, if you're like cross country, I mean, there's plenty of places I could tell you that nobody cared about what the EPA had to say about anything, even though our tractor trailers are way worse than anything that we send down the track.
Yeah.
But it's all to me, it's just a loss of generation. And the people who do like to work on their cars, the import guys, have been sort of alienated themselves. Kind of, the old school against the new school.
Well, it didn't help that that the National Hot Rod Association tried to all of a sudden become the be all and end all for that kind of racing, because they went after the big show method of sport compact racing, to where you got to bring in big sponsors. And sport compact racing has always been on the very grassroots level, just that far from street racing. And the closer it is to street racing, the more exciting it is, and the less rules, the better. And NHRA tried to come in with a blanket of rules and turned out to be a total failure.
Well,
Had to give it to Nopi.
I mean, I wouldn't put it all on them either, because I'm sure the ideas didn't just come from them. I'm sure, they had suggestions thrown them between racers and sponsors and racetracks to make it a more prevalent thing and make it a big show. Because, if I was a racer in that series, I might want to go, hey, I want a big Wally and make it big and blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
But, so, I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that whole thing. I think it could have been run better, but I don't know.
Could have been run better with hands off.
Yeah, it could have been.
I was keeping track for about 3 years of what cars were showing up for the 5 professional categories that they had, and at the most they had 54 cars that would show up for 5 eliminator categories, and that was at the height of it.
And to me, some of that is competition, and I kind of wish there was a way to, rule-wise, to make it more level playing field, because there was just teams that they were going to win, and then they ended up being 2 or 3 cars in that category. Because
I was a huge fan of Matt Hartford with that Cadillac powered whatever it was that he had. I mean, that was a stunning car. The kind of car that with twin turbos that twisted drive shafts in half.
Right.
That was great to watch. Too bad that couldn't be absorbed into an ADRL type or a secondary pro mod feel or something like that, like the guys down at Titan in Florida that run their Scion with a Toyota 6-cylinder on twin turbos. Those are incredibly fast cars and great to watch, really fun to watch.
Yep.
It's like watching Brad Personette at running a pro mod, with twin turbos. Those cars haul ass. There's a lot of ingenuity and a lot of diversity that happens, between Pro Street, Pro Mod, and Sport Compact. And hopefully one day they'll be able to combine them and end up with some sort of super meet, whether it's at Mel Roth's Streetcar Super Nationals or something, or down at with Carl Weisiger down in Florida at his event.
And those are a couple of great events. I mean,
just amazing events.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it's building every year. To see that the Streetcar Super National is getting bigger and bigger. There's a few things that are getting bigger. The nostalgia races in Bakerfield.
And Boise, and there's an amazing interest in that, but that's also a really strong participation base.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a positive part of the sport right now is that the National Hot Rod Association does not really have a hold on all of drag racing. There's a lot of other drag racing that's happening out there that NHRA ends up being the insurance agency or the rules body, and really doesn't have anything to do with the putting on of the race.
Well, and that's kind of up into the promoters too, because if you're looking, we can't look to NHRA for everything, and we can't consider that the be-all, end-all of what your income's about. and you got to start looking at things that you could do and come up with new ideas. And
I think that's what we're doing on a lot of levels. But I think also NHRA coming in meddling with things and tweaking rules to make them mimic the big show is hurting what is essentially a lot of people's expensive golf game as a hobby. And if you go to the addition of carbon fiber brakes for the nostalgia funny cars that was mandated is totally unnecessary, and that it put a $7,000 to $10,000 burden on every funny car owner. And yeah, there's only about 110 of them, but still, if you want to run under NHRA rules, and if you want to run over 240 miles an hour, you got to run carbon fiber front brakes. And that's NHRA's meddling in things. That's the legal department on the that makes those kind of decisions, rather than a racer base that advises. There's no oversight.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, you either take the series on by yourself, which not too many people
I'm willing to help.
I know. But I mean, not too many people want to do that. Do want to help? You know what I mean? It's a lot to take on. It's a full-time job, and one of the benefits about having NHRA involved is that it doesn't become a full-time job for everybody else. You got Eric Lotz working hard, and a bunch of people, Mike Rice and Steve Gibbs, they're all working hard for the deal.
Okay, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Why wasn't Mike Rice?
Devil's advocate too.
Why wasn't Mike Rice, or why wasn't Steve Gibbs at the Las Vegas race? One of our premier races.
I know for sure that Mike Rice was up in Mission. He's trying to help the new division director up there, and that's something he had to do. That was his priority.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric Lotz was there. He was representing.
Okay, well, I'll reserve comment because I like Eric. I just I guess I'm not.
He doesn't have as many people to help him out anymore, if any.
Wait, say that again?
He has very few people to help him out anymore.
He's probably one of the best choices for that.
Yeah.
But I'll reserve comment for another for the next show or two shows down the road. I think Eric does a good job, but I think that somebody who's more technically oriented and doesn't meddle from the legal standpoint is an important adjunct to nostalgia racing. As 3 or 4 years ago, one of the top fuel drivers, who I won't name because he didn't say that I could say his name, but he said, the racers started nostalgia racing in the late 80s, before Good Guys got involved, before NHRA got involved.
Right.
And basically he said, if NHRA keeps meddling and keeps fucking around with the rules in nostalgia racing, then it's time for us to just start it again and see if we can do something with IHRA. We did it once, we can do it again.
Well, and that's something that's a good talk. It's a good subject to talk about, and we need to get Blake in here because I know he has some pretty strong ideas about it. I know
he does. I actually talked to him today. We spoke about the June 9th race, which I'm really looking forward to. If there's a way of reinventing the Saturday night event,
not trying to go a little bit more.
It's everything nitro. There'll be jet cars are not nitro, but there'll be nostalgia funny cars. There'll be nostalgia top fuel. There'll be front motor top fuel. There'll be Steve Pluger's modern day funny car driven by Steve Densham, or driven by Gary Densham. But there'll be everything that's powered by nitro is going to be let in for free. The Saturday night show will be every funny car runs, the quick 8 come back, and then make another set of runs. The quick 2 come back as the final round for a Chicago-style shootout. the idea is to get it all done in one day, so that there's no hotels involved, there's no additional meals and that kind of stuff, so that you end up making what is hopefully an affordable. Okay, affordable and nitro do not go together, but an affordable show that can be run in a single evening. I agree that there's not enough interest on a lot of people's part to come in for a 2-day or 3-day or 4-day event. It wears people out, and people cannot make that commitment and take time off work to experience a 2 or 3 or 4-day event. So if they can do a Saturday night event, which is basically competing against movie theaters, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. I've worked with a few Saturday night events, and they usually turn out pretty good, because for that very reason we make them affordable. You make the whole carload ticket thing, $5 for a carload or something like that, and it brings in tons of people. And to me, fireworks is what you really want.
Well, I think that's absolutely a part of it. But it was screwed up last year when the dust storm of all dust storms came through on the Saturday Night Nitro show that was happening up at Famoso. I think there were 14 or 15 Nitro funny cars there. There were Top Fuel dragsters. There were fuel alters. It was like the best vibe I've experienced in a long time. And at 7:15, it looked like the Wizard of Oz coming for the top end, with the worst dust storm I've ever seen, and lightning hitting the tower and lightning hitting the right-hand timing stand, scoreboard. And I was like, what the hell? Who's jumping in and screwing this thing up? This really had the vibe of being one of those incredible Saturday night shows. So I give a lot of credit to Blake and John Bowser, for stepping up and trying to do it again, because I think there's an audience out there for it.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to bring up right after you said that. It's because at each track I've seen it go away too, because when you have 1 or 2 years in a row of bad weather,
yeah,
you're really sinking. Because you still have to pay the guys who are driving in there from 1,000 miles away. And if you make it, the bigger the show, the deeper your pockets are going to be.
And we had that for 2 years in a row at the March meet.
Yeah, and
it totally sucks shows.
It sucks the life out of you, because you put so much into this one day, and the problem is you cannot rerun the event. You can't do it next week. You can't do it the day after, because it just doesn't work.
The day after means you completed it, but there's about a tenth of the audience there that was there on the previous night.
It sucks the life out of the events.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest thing as a promoter, is to make sure that it keeps going even after those bad years. But you have to be willing to gamble, and not everybody's willing to gamble, especially right now.
Yeah.
Because we're all hurting. And we're all paying more. Like, I'm paying $1,100, $1,200. Should have been. They asked for $1,300 for 1 barrel VHT. And so every time our track is sprayed, it would have been $1,300. We still have the low price right now of $1,100, which, if you want to call that a low price, it's not as cheap as everybody else, because we have to have the EPA safe VHT.
But again, being as a devil's advocate, is it important now to spray an entire 1,320 feet, or do you give everybody 300 feet and say, get your shit together and get beyond 300 feet by adjusting your clutch or your delay box or whatever, so that
you have 2 cars that show up. They don't support it. So
okay, but in Las Vegas, you didn't spray the entire track for funny cars.
Not for funny car, but we sprayed the entire track during the morning.
Right, but didn't come back and lay it down for every session that was called.
And I don't think it needs to be. I mean,
No, but we had some incredible
obviously,
ETs. We had
obviously,
world record ETs.
I mean, there's something called overspraying,
Yeah.
and
When it pulls your shoes off, and you know, what was it at Bakersfield? It was the test and tune before the reunion last year. Bob Brooks was pulled out of his shoes and almost fell over on his ass. There was so much VHT out there.
Well, and there's a happy medium because now you're talking about two types of traction. There's the funny cars and the dragsters run nitro that have a little bit more downforce, and they could use a little wheel speed on the starting line, and by the time they're up and running, they have enough downforce that they don't need as much spray. And you got your sportsman cars that, you know, you need to spray the crap out of the starting line. You need to have spray at least, you know, 1,000 foot on to make sure nothing goes bad in that 1,000 foot to 1320, because that's where it usually goes kaboom. And, you know, it's a never-ending process of finding the right balance. And, you know, I think it's as race directors, and, you know, we always are trying to find the right thing to do. Some people have their way, they're set in their way, but I think you know, the tracks that need to, like, I mean, we're all looking for ways to cut costs but have a good racetrack. So in the meantime, we might not have a perfect racetrack, but we work very hard to try to make a perfect racetrack. I never try to make an unsafe racetrack.
But the difference between an unsafe and a perfect is you know, is relative, and I truly think that a lot of racers, hey, you know, spear me if I'm wrong, but a lot of racers have gotten lazy, and there are ways of tuning your car. There are ways of tuning your clutch. There are a lot of ways of getting a car down the track, and if this is the track you're given, you know, hey, live with it.
I think it's also a lack of knowledge. I mean,
maybe.
I mean, including, I wouldn't
not
say
everybody JD Zink and you know, and some of the professionals like Romine or John Hale, or you know, some of those people that have come into sort of the nostalgia world. It's like, yeah, they used to run on absolutely shitty tracks where all you had was a little bit of gold dust down on the starting line, and you had to get past that and help you hooked up some way down the track.
But to me, there was a loss of how to tune your car, or to remember a simple thing. Like, I'm not going to say who it was, but there was a dragster, just a Super Comp dragster, that crashed. And it just so happens that the tires on that thing were the old tires that they've had on there for 3 years, 3.5 years, and they became hard.
Yeah.
And something as simple as that made them all over the place, and they crashed.
Yeah.
And you got to at least look at yourself before you start pointing the finger at the track. And then, I mean, there's always time to point fingers at the track because we're always taking it anyway.
Well, but I think there's one of those times that you can have that driver's meeting on Saturday morning or whenever you have a driver's meeting and say, hey, we're trying something new, or advertise it to everybody that's already pre-entered, and we're only going to spray the track to 300 feet. Beyond that, it's yours.
Well,
you guys figured out how to do it.
Is that there's a lot of times where I didn't change one thing. We did the exact same thing every single time. And maybe it's a difference in the formula VHT or something, or maybe it's exactly the same and then their car's different.
Or if there was wind that blew the VHT around and got it on the K-rail.
There's so many factors. I mean, yeah, racers
have
to start taking a little bit of
prepping.
the responsibility of being able to get down the track, because, I mean, if you're, like, there was one car that was this past weekend that kept spinning his tires. Smoking his tires every time he went down the track. He was the only one spinning his tires like that. Well, he was overpowering it for the size tires he had on his race car. You know, when you have a 7.0 car, these tires don't work. Get freaking bigger tires. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
just
there's
look
no,
at yourself before you start pointing fingers.
there's no coach that you can go to and come in and say, hey, I'm trying to be impartial here, but you need a bigger tire,
great.
dude.
You race at a racetrack somewhere else, that's perfect. That they spray the crap out of it, and maybe they have like $500 VHT where they could keep spraying it 5 different times.
Right.
And I can't do that. I can't afford it. It's
Well, not until we get enough people in the grandstands who are buying beer and hot dogs and can offset that kind of expense. But when so many drag strips have to deal with the back gate, that's a fact of life in surviving in today's economy and today's world as a drag strip.
And I'll throw an idea that I thought about to help with a bracket series, because let's face it, if you don't know what bracket racing is, you don't care what you're watching.
Right.
And you don't think it's fun. It looks stupid. If
It
you don't
makes
know
no
what it
sense
is.
to most people.
If you don't know what it is.
Right.
So, to me, I was going to do a program where for the price of 2 crew tickets, I'll give you 10 tickets. And you give those 10 tickets to whoever you want. But if we don't get, because I came up with the number of 2 tickets because that's around what you get on average at some of these racetracks, 2 per race car. But if it goes below that 2 per race car, if people start giving those tickets to the other racers, I'll stop that program.
Right.
But I'm willing to start a program like that they could take those 10 tickets, give it to people who've never been to the racetrack, and it is up to them to bring them out.
Right.
Because there's me advertising on movie screens, television, radio, which you can't do in LA because we can't afford it. I mean, it's ridiculous what it costs to put something up on a big screen. But
the only way is really social media and the internet and maybe
and
a tiny bit of radio.
program, which you have to get other people to work for it. If you want the people to watch you in the stands, get them to watch you in the stands.
Yeah. So give me an idea of where Auto Club Dragway at Fontana exists now. Where is it now?
We are very committed to getting it back up and running. That's all I could say is we're more frustrated than anybody else out there. Trust me. I do not like being in a place that's not running. But the track is committed. So that's where we stand, and that's the official what I could say. I mean, we're committed.
Okay, good. Because God knows we need you. We need Fontana back.
Yeah.
And if there's some sort of combination of a sound wall or mufflers or whatever it's going to take to get it back, I think it's essential. It's amazing that after in the 3 weeks after the closing of Irwindale, which was a bankruptcy, and Fontana, that there were a total of 4 deaths in street racing.
Yep.
Coincidental or not, it's pretty incredible that kind of timing happened, and it even surprised the people at the Auto Club who don't really follow those kind of statistics, that a drag strip makes that much difference in terms of street racing.
Yep.
I mean, when I was a teenager, I street raced. I was down on Fletcher Drive, which is not far from where I live now, or out on Peoria in Northridge, or any number of places around Southern California. But like I've told my kids and told people whenever they asked about some sort of hypocrisy, well, the cops didn't have helicopters, and they didn't have the sophisticated radios that they've got now, and they didn't have everybody on every street corner with a cell phone who could turn people in. And there also weren't nearly the amount of residents in many of these areas. It was rather desolate. And street racing is an awful thing today. It's not something that belongs in a big city. and yet the innate urge of a guy who pulls up next to a Civic who's next to him. It's like, I want to show you. I'm going to kick your ass. And that stuff is that stuff doesn't go away. So I mean, thank God Irwindale's come back, but I think it's really important too for everybody to do whatever they can.
It's important for each track to be back. I mean, Verona, Irwindale, our track, Las Vegas, Bakersfield. Without any of those pieces, you're hurting your customer base.
Yeah.
Because they'll find a new hobby to go to, and do something else. We'll go, as you know, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to do whatever they can to support Fontana, but I don't think there's much that can be done right now because it's in the legal system. Everybody's just got to kind of sit back, and I know it's the hardest thing to do because everybody wants to jump in and do something.
Yeah.
But if we don't, dot our I's, cross our T's, might as well just pack it in now. I mean,
yeah.
We got to, just do what's right.
Good.
So they're committed. That's all I could say.
Okay, good. Well, so how'd you like being in the? I mean, I don't know what your official title was, but you were a race director at Vegas this weekend.
Yep, I've been doing some race directing at Vegas and Bakersfield. Vegas I used to work at from 2005 to 2007, and Bakersfield I've always been a friend with the Bowsers, and it's been kind of nice to go up there because both places, I have good friends in both places. And gives me something to do on the weekends.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't get in too much trouble because
well,
you're with a bunch of your friends.
And I just need to keep up my chops because I mean you do get rusty after a while, and so it's good to keep moving and keep doing things in the business and continue.
So we'll see you at Famoso on the 9th?
You will see me most likely at Famoso on the 9th.
Okay. All right, you'll definitely see me at Famoso on the 9th. I'm even thinking about going to Sacramento as much as I don't like the management at Sacramento who have fucked with me a number of times and fucked with photographers. No, they just like to fuck with people. But they've done it to photographers. They've done it to media. They've there's I don't understand that philosophy or mentality that prevents coverage and exposure of what it is they're doing. It's everything needs exposure. And that we have to wear white pants on the starting line because of some bullshit line that the insurance requires white pants for photographers on the starting line. That's when my bullshit meter goes off. And Jennifer and Dave Smith and the whole Smith family, thank God they still run a drag strip up there, but don't make it so prohibitive and make it a pain in the ass to come up there because people tend to not want to come back. They've got a good spectator base, definitely. I mean, I've been up there for some killer funny car races, some killer door car races for the West Coast Outlaw Pro Mods, and yet they treat a certain level of the media and people who want to promote races like dog shit, and I don't get it.
Well, I've only been up there once, and that's probably, I don't know, it was indifferent to me. But I wasn't.
I'll be going up for Funny Car Fever if I forget what the date is, but it's Father's Day weekend, and if we finish our Model A 5-window coupe, we'll be debuting it at LA Roadsters at Pomona. Or if it's not ready, then maybe we'll make that trip up to and just go in and buy a ticket and report on it from the grandstands, just because they don't want to fuck with anybody.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's their prerogative.
Oh yeah.
Whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think we're gonna have some good guests in the next few weeks. I know Bob Klein from Irwindale wants to come out and talk once in a while, and Mike Maggio, I talked to him about coming on, and of course it's always fun to have Steve-O, even though he was kicked off 5,000 times.
Well, also, parenthetically, it's really important for racers and fans to get out and support Irwindale. Right now, it's new management. They're really thinking of different ways of dealing with the drag strip and the NASCAR track, and coming up with it as an entertainment complex. That who knows? They may have monster trucks. They may have NASCAR a couple of times a month. But I think that we all need to be looking at how we can support that place, because it's right now it's one of the most vital drag strips in Southern California, and it's a fun place to go hang out on a Thursday night.
Yep. I mean, I'm glad they are able to open up again, and it's nothing but good for drag racing in general in Southern California. And I mean, we'll talk about other parts of the country in the future, but I mean, right now it's kind of dire for here in Southern California, the birth of drag racing. Just struggling to keep places open. It's tough to work with the government. I think there's more people realizing what a track brings in. It's definitely good for the communities.
Yeah, there was a program that when Irwindale drag strips first opened, they were in cooperation with the Irwindale PD, and they would give first-time offenders who had gotten a speeding ticket, which is a free ticket to get into Irwindale drag strip on a Thursday night.
Right.
And I thought it was the most brilliant. It's like
I thought it was a brilliant idea too.
Everybody needs to do that. My God.
Well, here's the thing, Dar. I tried to do that in 2 different places, and it's too hard with the rules that the officers have to run by, that they're not able to do it.
Yeah, well, 100 miles an hour in a school zone is probably not going to get one of the free passes to Irwindale, but 38 in a 25
Well,
maybe.
I mean, what you would normally give for a warning would be what you would give these tickets for.
Right.
But
that comes from the top down in a police department like Irwindale.
Right.
Where they realize the value of a drag strip, and I think that's an educational part of what we all need to do too, is to engage the police department.
And we've had some success talking to police departments. It was just the problem getting the red tape that they couldn't get through.
Right.
And that's something I'm used to with bigger corporations. It's hard to get through the red tape just because they have to go by all these freaking rules, and it's just what they have to do.
Levels and levels of approvals.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they want to do it that way, it's just they have to do it that way.
Yeah, right.
So we don't get sued or something like that.
Wow, it sounds like a lot like the National Hot Rod Association.
Yeah, well, they're dealing with a lot of the same crap. I mean,
I don't have as much. I have more sympathy for what you're going through than what the National Hot Rod Association.
Well, I know we could all do things better. I mean, I could do things better. They could do things better. You could do things better.
I'm always trying to do things better,
right.
But when you run into the obstinance and bullshit of the National Hot Rod Association, eventually you go.
Yeah.
That's also why I've gotten to the point where I'm going and enjoying the drag racing that I'm enjoying, which is fast door cars, nostalgia cars, all different kinds of drag racing other than the big show. I'll go to Pomona because I love Pomona, and go for the Winter Nationals or the World Finals or the NMCA or PSCA. It's like I enjoy fast cars, but to be dealing with the few teams that have got multi-million-dollar operations, I don't give a shit anymore. It's not. I don't find that an exciting form of drag racing. There's plenty of. I had so much excitement over the weekend watching 23 cars trying to get into an 8-car field. That's drag racing. That's what it's about. Not a guaranteed position, so that X driver with X sponsor gets enough TV time on ESPN. I don't give a shit.
Well, and to me, actually, the biggest thing for me personally is that I wish they would just go down to one Magneto
Yep.
Smaller fuel pump, smaller fuel lines, and race 1320.
Have Steve Pfluger, perfect his idea of a funny car, which was, a single pump, and that he ran and qualified for Houston, with a single mag and dual pump single mag, and qualified for Houston is fucking great. That's a step in the right direction instead of placating people like Don Schumacher and John Force and Connie Coletta, who've got all the money in the world to and racks and racks and racks of heads, magnetos, and everything that they possibly need to it's time for all of that to be ratcheted back so that there's a more approachable kind of drag racing.
Well, and I hope the teams see that sometime. I understand their part of not wanting to blow up and not wanting to kill anybody. But I think I've heard from a few crew chiefs that they feel that they could lower the rules down enough to slow them down enough to make it safe for a 1320.
But the legal department of the National Hot Rod Association will never let that happen.
And it's a shame because that was one thing we talked about, the fans all mentioning when we went to 1320 at 1,000 foot. They missed 1320 racing.
Yep. It's over too quick. Especially a place like Pomona, it's over too quick.
Right. It's just...
Well, on that happy note...
Yeah. And, I hope for the best for NHRA, and I think things will smooth out eventually. I just think it's a long road, that's all.
And my fondest hope would be that the current investigation by the Internal Revenue Service into the relevance of the National Hot Rod Association being a not-for-profit corporation goes to the mat, so that all of a sudden there could be a 10-member racers board that has some sort of oversight over how much Tom Compton gets paid, and all the way down the line, that there's money being pissed away and salted away in an organization that's bloated, as bad as the U.S. government.
On that happy note.
Sorry, man, I couldn't let that go by.
That's all right.
It's just there's why am I a member of the
Uncensored,
National Hot Rod Association? It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And yet I still have a membership. I don't read National Dragster. Here's my unopened copy right here. I don't read National Dragster. There's nothing in it that's compelling. I get my information from the internet, and it's not just from National Dragster or NHRA.com. It's from all over the place. Certainly Drag Racing Online, but there's a million places for me to get information of what's going on in drag racing, and they no longer have the stranglehold that they have, and I would hope that someday soon that oversight will come to the National Hot Rod Association and bring it to some form of reality. They're out of touch.
I'm back.
Oh, my God, there's two of you. What the hell happened?
I don't know. Something weird. I moved the mouse and it freaked out.
All right. Well, had enough for tonight?
Had enough for tonight, but I think it was a good talk. And, we'll see how this goes in the next few weeks. I think the pilot was successful.
Good. Wherever the hell Steve is.
It would have been more fun with Steve, but,
Yeah, but he was looking green. He just wasn't looking well.
Well, we did all right.
Good.
Well, thanks, Dar, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks to, if anybody watches this fucking thing, thanks for watching.
Absolutely.
All right. Later.